What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats as well as some excellent attachment combinations for every gun in Modern Warfare 2. And in today's episode, we're going to be moving on to the brand new sniper that was added with Season 5. This is the Carrack 300. And starting it off as always with sniper rifles, let's start this off with our one-shot kill zones as well as ranges. And as we can see here, we can get a one-shot kill to the upper torso, neck, and head from 0 to 56 meters. Then beyond that, we have a second damage range from 56 meters up to just about 70 meters. And in this range, it's going to be a one-shot kill only to the neck and the head. And then after 69.5 meters, it's still just a one-shot kill to the neck and the head. It's just we're dealing a bit less damage everywhere else in the body. However, it's worth noting that unless you're shooting through some form of cover, it will never take you more than 2 shots to kill with this gun, even at the longest possible ranges. You'll always deal at least 50 damage. As for our rate of fire, this is the fastest in the sniper rifle category. That's not really saying much because we only have one other semi-auto, and that's the Signal 50. But with the Carrack, our rate of fire is 188 rounds per minute, and our aim down sight time is also the fastest in the sniper category at 505 milliseconds. So in those two areas, this is much more of like a hybrid between a marksman rifle and a sniper rifle. However, our Sprintout Time is pretty standard for sniper rifles at 270 milliseconds for our standard Sprintout Time and 390 milliseconds for our tactical Sprintout Time. Then taking a look at our bullet velocity, this is also standard for snipers at 780 meters per second, and that's great unless you're playing something like Ground War or Warzone. You generally don't need to increase this at all. And there's also nothing out of the ordinary for the sniper category when it comes to our Hipfire spread. This is just standard for sniper rifles, but I guess it's worth noting it is better than the Signal 50, so as far as semi-auto snipers go, this is pretty good for Hipfire. Next up, let's have a look at our default optic and just compare that to the other snipers in the game. And it turns out our zoom level on this is quite high for sniper rifles. It's just a little bit behind the Victus XMR and the FJX Imperium, but it does have a higher zoom than all of the other default sniper optics in the game, and it does also have a nice clean reticle on it. Now, one big downside with this gun is there's quite a bit of sway. I guess that applies to many of the sniper rifles in the game, so it can be a bit tricky to stay on target unless you hold your breath if you're trying to stretch anything out at all, and that is something to be aware of. Now, normally I don't really take a deep look at recoil for sniper rifles because most of them are bolt actions, but in the case of this gun, recoil is actually important, so let's have a look at it, and as we can see, it kicks upwards with a little bit of a lean toward the left. But honestly, not a ton of recoil here. There's a bit more of a jump between the first and second shot than any of the shots following that. However, I do want to mention that just like with many of the other sniper rifles, this gun does not recenter after you fire your shot. You will have to manually recenter your gun and pull your aim back down. You can't just wait for it to recenter on its own. But after that, let's have a look at our mobility stats, and we've got pretty much average mobility across the board for sniper rifles. I guess you could say it's very slightly above average, but nothing out of the ordinary here at all. And then we'll have a look at our reload add time, which is a little on the slower side at 2.73 seconds. And with that combined with the fact that it is a semi-auto with a decent fire rate, I really do like using one of the extended mag attachments. And my preferred one out of these two, just because it doesn't really hurt my aim down sight time that much, is the 10 round mag. And that right there is going to wrap it up for the important base stats to know with the Carrack 300. Now let's dive a bit deeper into some of the unique attachments. And the first thing I want to look at here are all of the unique attachments that impact our aim down sight speeds. And these include barrels, stocks, rear grips, as well as magazines, which we've already had a quick look at. But when it comes to the barrel attachments, unfortunately, none of them will help our aim down sight speed at all. But most of them aren't really too punishing. Like aside from the Heavy Tac 300 and arguably the 30-inch flintline barrel, they don't really kill our aim down sight speed at all. Then we have one stock as well as one rear grip attachment that both will improve our aim down sight speed by 12 to 19 milliseconds. After that though, since we had a look at the recoil of the base version of the gun, I did want to break down the barrels that impact our recoil. Keep in mind I excluded the second barrel attachment because it doesn't affect recoil at all, and it was a pretty tight chart to begin with, so I just got rid of that one. But as we can see here, the bipod barrels in the stats will state that they help with your recoil control, but it looks like that's just meant to show that it helps with your recoil control when you're actually mounted with that bipod. So if you do plan on mounting, it's not a horrible choice to use one of the bipod barrels. But if you're running around and you're not really planning on mounting the gun at all, don't use those if you're looking for the best possible recoil. Instead, the Heavy Tac 300 gives us a very nice reduction to our recoil without having to mount on anything, and both of the 300 sub-sound barrels do give a slight improvement to our recoil control as well, even without mounting with the bipod when it comes to that one that does have the bipod equipped. But then finally, for these barrel attachments, I wanted to have a look at the ones that impact our ranges as well, just to see if they really matter all that much. And it turns out with that 30-inch flintline barrel, we get a 32% increase to our damage range, which is really nice, because now our one-shot kill to the upper torso extends beyond 70 meters, which is great. As for the Heavy Tac 300, we get a nice 16% improvement to our range, which is still pretty great. And then with both of those 300 sub-sound barrels, they will be decreasing our damage ranges by 15%. And with that, let's now finally move into some excellent attachment combinations I've got for you guys. And the first setup I've got is actually my preferred setup, probably just because I tend to stick to 6v6 multiplayer. This is the aggressive setup that I've got here. So with this, we've got the 1 milliwatt quick-fire laser, because I don't want a visible laser, but I do want to help with aim down sight speed whenever possible. We've got the Schlager 3.4 times optic. You could also use the VLK optic. They're very similar in that area, so just go with your preference there. We've got the Lex V14 stock, which helps with our aim down sight speed, as well as the Engage 20 grip, which helps with aim down sight, as well as sprint out speeds. And then finally, we're just going to top that off with the 10-round magazine, so we don't have to reload nearly as often. And with this, we get an incredible aim down sight speed for a sniper rifle at 400 milliseconds. And we also have an improved sprint out time overall, while still having an accurate gun. You can see our recoil is a little bit higher than the base recoil, but it's still very manageable. And for the most part, what I've found is if you're just confident with your aim and you can hit those upper torso shots consistently, you don't really need to worry about the recoil at that point. You mainly just have to worry about aim down sight speed and making sure you get your shot on point. So this is actually a very rewarding setup for those that are good at quickscoping and precise as well, and able to hit that upper torso shot on a reasonably consistent basis. As for the next build, I also wanted to offer a setup for more traditional sniping where you're hanging back, just covering a lane, and kind of using it like a DMR since it is a semi-auto, although generally you still want to try to make sure you're hitting either the head, especially if you're stretching the range out, or the upper torso if you're a little bit closer. And with this, we once again have that 1 milliwatt quickfire laser, because I don't want to kill our aim down sight speed too bad, but again, I don't want a visible laser because we are going to be pre-aiming a lot with this build. We got the Carrack palm rear grip. This one helps with flinch resistance, which is quite important if you have somebody returning fire on you. You don't want to flinch way above their head, and this one really cuts down on that significantly, which is great. We once again have the 10-round magazine on this. We have the high velocity ammunition, since we're going to be using this at longer ranges than the previous build. And then finally, we've got the XRK Kraken muzzle. And the reason we have this one is out of any single attachment, this one gives us the best possible recoil on the Carrack 300. As you can see here, this is a very accurate gun. There are very small spaces between each one of these shots fired, and therefore at like closer to mid ranges, you can spam this very comfortably and still land both shots on target if you require 2 shots to kill. Now with this one, it is worth noting our aim down sight speed is noticeably slower than the base at 605 milliseconds, so you're not going to be running around with this one like with the previous build. However, our bullet velocity is incredible, so if you're using this on something like ground war, for instance, you can pick people off at really, really long ranges super effectively. And with that, that's going to wrap it up today's gun guide on the Carrack 300. As for my thoughts on this gun, I think it was a great addition to the game. I think it fits in nicely. It doesn't perform like any gun that's currently in the game. Like the closest thing we've got is a Signal 50, but this performs very different from the Signal 50. I love the fact that it's got a really solid aim down sight speed for a sniper rifle, and it really rewards those accurate upper torso shots. So it's great for those quickscopers out there that are solid with their precision, and I find it really rewarding to get kills with this because you know you have to be accurate in order to get that one-shot kill. Also, picking headshots off at long range, that's also quite a bit of fun with this. So yeah, in general, I think this was a good addition to the game. I like this sniper rifle, but of course, those are just my thoughts, and I'd love to hear from you guys in those comments down below. What are you thinking about the Carrack so far? Now, if you guys have missed any of the previous episodes of Gun Guides, I will leave a link to the playlist in the description of the video. Every single gun in the game is currently covered, including the brand new FR Advancer. I covered that last week. And if you enjoyed this video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.